Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal peoples of the Eora Nation as the traditional custodians of the land on which we record this podcast, and pay my respects to the elders both past and present. Hi everyone, I'm Tahnee Cook and welcome to my podcast, Chuffed. Some of you may know me as the girl who got married to a stranger on TV, which thankfully worked out, and now I'm here chatting with you all on my podcast. And you're probably wondering what this podcast is about. Chuffed is your unfiltered safe space for all things love, career and life. Join me each week as we unpack relationships and dating, a dash of pop culture, and have fun conversations with cool people. This is part 2 of my chat with Melinda. We'll pick up where we left off talking about the couple swap, share some more of our experience on MAFS, and get into the Logies drama. So let's do it.
And do you know what made me do it in the end? Because they had said to me, okay, and Leighton wasn't kicking off yet. And they had said to me, Mel, at the end of the day, you've signed that you're going to do an experiment and this is part of it. And did you say that you were going to try everything? And I said, yes, I did.
Yeah.
And they said, did you say you're going to trust the experts? Yes, I did. Where have the experts got you so far? And I'm like, well, they've helped us a lot.
Yeah.
And then they said, Mel, we're going to let you know. Because I said, well, what if Leighton doesn't do it? And they said, he's going to be made to do it. You'll be made to do it. You will both be doing it.
Yeah.
So I've come out going, okay, we have to do this.
It.
Then
yeah.
he's
didn't
not
want to do
doing
it.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, so what if Leighton doesn't want to do it? And the last thing the producer said to me before everyone left was, he has to do it. He signed a contract, Mel. He'll be doing it. So I'm conflicted thinking he's doing it.
Yeah.
And then he
does
does
it
and he's not. And it's just such a head.
Yeah, and it's such misplaced frustration as
well.
well.
And the producers are doing it there. Like, they're going, let's turn him and her.
Okay,
That's
so
great.
I will say what happened with ours, which you guys did not see a peep of, and then you then get to see Ollie at the commitment ceremony being really like down, and people are like, wait, what's happened? So they... Obviously, I was with Rupert. I was like, okay, it's fine. I'm actually friends with Rupert. I'm going to have a fine time. Like, if it was honestly any of the other boys, I'd probably be like, oh, this is shit. Like, I'm not really I'm not really comfortable or friends with them that I'd be like, okay. Honestly, I probably would have been fine with Leighton. I feel
what
like
about Harrison?
Like, fucking no offense, Harrison.
That's what I was like. No one understands.
We know Harrison would be listening.
What about what I'm going through?
And that's why. Yeah. So when I was like, okay, it's fine. I feel like they were whispering things to Ollie, and then things were being said to me, and then they said we weren't allowed to communicate. And you know me, I'm following rules. I didn't really communicate with him the whole time.
Yeah.
And then he's like, cut that I'm not communicating to him. And then I'm seeing Rupert send Evelyn flowers through DoorDash, and I'm like, wait, they're texting. And then they made this whole thing to make Ollie feel like a type of way. And I was like, well, that's shit, because that's not like, I was not texting because you guys told me not to and made me feel like I was going to get,
and
I don't know.
That wasn't even shown. That was a big thing. You guys like really
we had a big fight.
Really rocky
after and that. Like no one, like we didn't stay in the same room the night we came back. Like it was really hard for us. And that was the hardest we had in the experiment. And it wasn't even shown to you guys. And fair enough, it would have been really confusing because it was more production-related struggles. And I feel like a lot of our things were like really nuanced issues that would be hard to convey in like a TV episode. Anyway, so that wasn't shown. But then people were like, wait, why does Ollie feel like that? Like, why is he upset? Like, what's going on? And we really struggled in that couple swap because we're like...
Do you know we had our group, like of the MAFS survivors, right? And during that couple swap... all the girls, we were like, we were dying in there. Like we were linking on each other. Like my relationship's broken. No, my relationship's broken. We're not in the same apartment. When Alyssa wasn't in the same apartment, you weren't in the same apartment. Me and Leighton weren't in the same. Everyone broke up. Yeah. During couple swap, and it wasn't even shown. It was not shown. It was like
it was offering perspective.
Do you know what's so funny too? Like that wasn't the first time me and Leighton weren't in the same apartment. There was another time from that second commitment ceremony that they didn't show.
It's really hard because obviously you guys, we film during the week, but we have that weekends off. So a lot of, especially for me and Ollie, we would have a lot of our arguments or stuff during the time off camera. Yeah. Which honestly, thank God. But no, it was interesting because you'd have to then like cut back to the same day and kind of kick off where you left off. So it was a bit hard and it's hard for the viewers to understand. But you know, it was challenging at times when you'd have things like that and the couple swap ended like right before a weekend. Remember? And it just ruined the whole day off we had.
Do you know what? Like as well, when you said that like you were being textbook and Ollie wasn't, you weren't texting Ollie
and
then
it
blah,
made
blah.
me feel bad for him.
You know, that happened with me and Leighton too, because what I was so distraught about is I knew how like textbook as well Leighton was, right? Yeah. So I knew when they ripped him away from me and it looks like, you know, he just like I felt like he was like ripped and we weren't finished. Yeah. So I then went, I know for 4 days I'm not going to hear from him. Yeah. And I hate to leave a flight. It's like going to bed on a flight. Like we were leaving for 4 days, him going somewhere else, me going somewhere else. And I knew I wasn't going to hear from him and we couldn't talk. And then
it's so mean.
Yeah, I was down at the spa and he was at the gym. And I remember thinking, yay, we're going to run. It's like an ex, you know, like,
we're going to run into each other.
Just broken up, friends, you're going to get back together. And I'm thinking like, yes, there's no producers. He's like, okay, that's cool, Mel. Like, I remember him coming down and saying, how long are you going to be in here? Because obviously we're not allowed to talk. So I'll come back when you're done. And I was like,
I know. It's so sad seeing like that. Because I feel like I should have kicked off and not done it. I should rip my mic off and be like, I'm not doing it. Like,
I should have been like, fuck no,
I'm not doing it.
Do you know his door was like 5 doors down from me and my door was 5 doors down from him, but yet for 4 days we're not allowed to talk.
So mean. It's
Don't knock on the door.
Mean.
Why were we so like, me and you, and a bit late, and I felt he was more rebel. We were so textbook.
And we definitely did break the rules, but I feel like they weren't to then be a detriment to the show. And I feel the rules that were broken, like sneaking out, butt dial, all that stuff, like they then affected how the show was. Like me having like Janelle in my room having a cry never affected the show.
Yeah.
Me having Jessie in my room giving me a puzzle never affected the show. See, you didn't even know that. So things like that, like that never was going to impact storyline or stuff, but things that did impact storyline I just felt was annoying because then the viewers are not going to get a full representation of what actually happened, and that is the case of our season. You couldn't see what happened on the kiss because obviously it wasn't shown on that night out, and then you couldn't see the butt dial stuff because it wasn't really shown. So when it was shown on TV, it was really fucking confusing for people, and people were questioning if like the legitimacy of it. They were questioning,
and rightly so.
And rightly so. And I feel, you know, things could have been communicated in a way which was more honest to the situation. But it's hard. It's hard because it's like the audience don't see that. Like there's no cameras there. You're just trusting what people are saying, and can you trust those people? You don't know. Yeah. So it's really hard.
Hey, you can't trust
it's like,
woman.
Okay.
You can't trust anyone.
You can't.
And even like with your partner, it's like a battlefield because it's like this stranger is trying to say this to win this argument. It's going to make Australia think like this. But I have my truth and I'll say, and like you're in this battlefield because like it's great for you and Ollie, right? Because you clicked and you had that bond. It was like a Bonnie and Clyde. You were like, you say what I say and I say what you say, and we're on the same team. Where me and Leighton were like, he's out to get me, she's out to get me. I got to say,
and I think a lot of, and I think I felt bad, which Ollie had a little bit of, but not as much. But like there was the dynamic with the boys that like don't dog the boys.
Why was that not shown? The bro code was a whole
because it was this whole thing about like bro code, girl code kind of thing, and it's like. And I get, actually, just sidebar, I got really annoyed at one of the last, I don't know if it was a reunion commitment ceremony, and Claire was calling out Ollie and Duncan for like the bro code, and I think Leighton as well, calling them out, but pretty sure Ollie and Duncan were the only two guys that fucking said stuff in the Voxies going against the boys.
Yeah, even if it was in the Voxies.
Like, also, let's be honest, like, if my girlfriend did something shitty, I'm probably going to protect her.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. So I'm like, that's not really fair. And these boys are saying things and they are having conversations with them. They're not calling people out in the same circumstances. But, you know, did the girls not protect you when you did something bad? 100%. Like, is that not going against...
And did Claire, like when the butt dial was all made up and they all knew it, like, did Claire not like...
Yeah, it's just interesting because I'm glad that wasn't shown because I was like, you're literally calling out Duncan and Ollie and they're out here exposing Dan and exposing the boys that happen. And it's also awkward. Like, I would feel uncomfortable, you know, exposing things. Also, when I don't 100% know the situation, and then I'm expected to then come up in a group of people and call shit out and have so much, like, you know, confidence in that when I don't even fucking know. It's not realistic.
Yeah, sometimes it's he say, she say, and you
exactly,
don't know.
And you can't go and then like say this stuff not knowing the full story. And these boys, and you can see them being like, yeah, like, I don't really agree with that. Like, oh, and they're allowed to be like that. They're also allowed to not get involved as well. I find that true. And I think, you know, I got involved where I felt was necessary. I could have definitely got involved more, but like, and I'll give you an example. I remember when I'd heard some shady stuff about Dan, I had gone to Sandy directly and told her some of the stuff. And I did hear, obviously, I don't really know too much about the butt dial. Like, I know there was the call and stuff, but Ollie had told me the stuff that was discussed on that boys' night. So I was in tune with what, like, I was clued into what was said. So I was like, fuck, do I tell Sandy and do I say something? Just be like, hey, heads up, like, I don't think this guy's great, you know, and kind of say something. I was like, hey, I'm going to have to internally process how I'm going to approach this. I didn't want to be a whole fucking set up telling situation. Not interested in doing that. And obviously,
but that's when the butt dial was created. You created the butt dial,
babe. It's my fault. But it's hard because it's like, yes, there was a call. That was a thing. But then
There were 3 1-minute calls.
And all the stuff was not heard in that one call.
No.
Which is fine, but that means that wasn't clear to people because they're like, oh, then it didn't happen. But like, yeah, part did.
So Hugo was heard, but Dan was not heard.
Yes, and then that was then repeated, which is fine.
But that was all about Dan.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but I had heard some of the comments that Dan had said, and
it was created on facts.
Yes.
It was real to some degree because what was said was
said, and they've admitted it. Yeah.
Yes, and it all just so happened that the boys started to like accidentally throw each other in. But was it heard on the call? No, it wasn't.
Yeah. So it's really hard, and then you're in this like conflict of saying things. So sometimes it's like, fuck, man, it's like put yourself in a real life situation where it's like, well, I don't want to fucking get involved in this, and now you feel obliged. And I think even more so you feel like you have to get involved in MAFS. And like, if a producer knows you heard something, best believe you're coming out and saying that.
Yeah.
And I remember, we were at the girls' night, the reunion girls' night when we were all together, and I pulled Sandy aside and I was like, hey, like, I just want to let you know, like, I really think Dan's not a good guy. I don't want to get into the details of what I've heard, but I really just don't think he's a good guy.
Yeah,
like, I just think you should give him
shit.
Yeah. I personally wouldn't want to hear awful things being said about me. Obviously, I had called Dan out at one of those dinner parties and then it wasn't really shown. And I had called Harrison out for his friendship with Dan because of some stuff. What about that was
the bloody mobile, getting the mobile? And they showed like Harrison was meddling, trying to bring Dan in as the good guy at the time. But Dan also got the number.
Yeah, okay, can we clear that up? Dan did get 100%. The number. Dan didn't, he threw his mate under the bus.
Yes, and then that whole storyline was produced. The producers would have loved that.
But they wanted
like
Dan to look good to then crush him later.
Yeah,
so
everything has
strategic and like full effect.
You start to get it, right? During it, we were trying to guess like, okay, why did they sit people on this couch? And like, but afterwards you're like, everything makes sense.
Everything makes sense down to
seating
arrangements, who people are grouped with each other. It's all, which I love. Like, that's just the beauty of reality TV. MAFS, I think, is just so unique because it's just such a unique format and it just is so captivating. I feel like people can't even deny how entertaining it is, and we'll get into that because we want to chat Logies next. It's just so fascinating to watch, and you can't deny that it's, even if you hate it, you love to fucking watch it.
So weird. You know, when we walked into the hands and we see all the girls there, and then we have the first dinner party, and I'm thinking, the MAFS that I know and love and watch, like, that's not going to be our season because
Absolutely
we just don't have that. But it's so interesting that it doesn't matter who the 20 or 24 in the end people that they pick. They know what the hell they're doing. You put these people in a room, you do this pressure cooking, you don't allow them to talk to these people, you seat them and you have MAFS.
And it's MAFS. Yeah. But going on to just MAFS as a whole, obviously, we've just come back from the Logies, morning after the Logies. Sadly, MAFS didn't win. I don't know if MAFS will ever win. I think
it should though.
I think it's hard to deny the like cultural impact MAFS has. Like, it's like one of the most viewed shows in Australia. It adds so much social conversations, positive and negative, and it's just such an impact. Like, every year you see it, there's always so much stuff. Every single week, there's something about it. It's bringing up a conversation about relationships, like whatever it is, good and bad. It's never going to get the recognition of that cultural impact because people just shit on reality TV, number one, and it's too controversial. It is what it is. I feel like if we wanted to win a Logie, we should have gone on another TV show that wasn't as controversial. But yeah, it's just interesting, and I feel people have a perception of you going on MAFS and what you're going to be like, and some is fair, some isn't fair, but it's interesting. I feel like we got shaded so much by Sam Peng. Rude. It's funny, but it's also like, okay, why did you play so much on MAFS? Like, come on, like, just see
the second one. Like, I was there for the first nomination, like the first.
The first award.
But I didn't see the fan favorites vote. I didn't even see that. Right, I was already upstairs. I had already exited from the situation that we'll talk about, and I was already upstairs. I didn't even. So lucky we didn't win because I would have missed it.
Yeah, totally. So let's talk about it, Mel. Obviously, I mean, we're speaking literally fresh off like some events that have happened from the Logies. You're in this space and you feel a type of way with certain dynamics that have happened. And I think for me and Mel, obviously, I'm sure you guys have seen like some chat about like Evelyn, Mel and I, just drama about
the divide,
and stuff. I've never really commented on stuff, and I feel like I've not wanted to say stuff because I don't want to look like I'm meddling or just like instigating shit. Like I just really don't have time for it. But it's hard when I feel like, oh no, I want to defend myself or defend like a situation. Just really like top line, I obviously have always been close with Mel. I feel like we had a trio moment during filming. It was like the three of us that were really close. And then I was like close with Ev like towards the end of filming and then a little bit after the show. And I felt I'm really in tune with energies. And I just felt a bit of an energy that, you know, maybe she didn't really like me or like something I'd done something or just an energy. And I felt like I tried to get to the bottom of it with quite a few people and I just wasn't really getting anywhere. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm in my head about it. Maybe I'm just overreacting. And then, you know, weeks and stuff goes by. Then I hear stuff that's been said, then get to the bottom of things that have happened. I'm like, oh, well, that just sucks because I really wanted to like work on that friendship or kind of get to the bottom of whatever issue that what was wrong because I genuinely didn't know. And going to the unfollowing thing, because I do want to touch on that, we got our Instagrams back. My account wasn't following any of the intruders, so I had gone onto my Instagram as soon as I got it back because I was one of the first to get mine back and went and followed all the intruders, of course, like as you would. And then obviously noticed like some of the boys that unfollowed me, like Shannon Harrison. I was like, fair, see you boys. Fair, like I'm not friends with them. But I like I was like, oh yeah, like I'm friends with Ev, like I'm fine with like, you know, Taylor, like Hugo, fine. And obviously Rupert. I think I actually was following Rupert, actually, so that's a lie. Anyway, so, and then it was maybe like a couple of days that gone by and then I noticed Evelyn had unfollowed me. And I was like, oh, okay, that's like really weird.
Yeah, like she had not reached out.
She had not reached out. I was like, obviously she's like, that's like, she doesn't want to see my content, whatever, fine. She doesn't want to be my friend, fine. So I was like, okay, I'll unfollow her. And then it was like, the script was flipped like, Tahnee unfollows Evelyn, Tahnee does this. That is just not like, okay. That's
what happened to me with the Logie nomination breakfast.
Yeah, so it just always flipped. Is put, and we'll get into that. But, you know, I feel like I have been so quiet about how I feel about things, so I don't want to publicly shade people and like call people out when I don't agree with their actions, because also it's none of my business. But then when I'm like actively trying to be like, what's going on? And then when I had reached out to her, but this was after Logie, so we'll get into the Logie's breakfast. It was just weird because I was like, okay, well, I don't think I've done anything wrong. And then I'm hearing like, you know, comments about stuff. Okay, like fine, if you don't like me, that's fine. I don't expect everyone to like me, but it just hurt because I thought we were friends.
But that's interesting, right? Because like you're trying to see if there's something that happened.
And I had asked many people. I was like and what the fuck is going on?
With it. Really close, right? Like she's got shit on me, I got shit on her. Like we know through and through that show, after the show, like the stuff we confided in, right? Like full close. Yeah. So that's why this is so crazy.
Really, really close.
And at the time that you were hearing stuff said about you, I was also hearing that I was having stuff said about me, which was a really like hurtful shock because I thought, what? Who? But this is like, you know, this is my like take it to the grave secret like girl, and I'm being thrown under the bus too. You and me, I'm like,
I knew that Ev was really close with Mel and I didn't want to make a thing of it. I was like, I'm just in my head about it. Like, you know, I'll just get over it. And I didn't want to make a thing of it. You'd reached out to me about something that happened to you with her. And I was like, oh dude, like, this is what I'm feeling. And I was like, I can't believe you just said this to me because like I didn't want to go to you because I didn't know where you were standing and I didn't want to fucking start drama.
I knew what was happening to you already, so I knew I could go to you because it wasn't.
But I was like, I have to wait for Mel to say something. I can't be the first because sometimes you're like not always like across the drama. Like you've always kind of been out of things. So like when I've ever said something to you, you're like, oh wait, I don't want to go to her and you to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like you're overreacting. Yeah. Which I know Mel would fucking say to me. Because we're very much like, I think with us, we're always like, are we in our heads? Like, no, like seriously, do you think I'm overreacting with this? And I've always loved that about our friendship because we can be like, okay, yes fucking we're being too dramatic.
Sometimes we are like,
sometimes we're like, okay, let's just tone it down. But and I remember you coming to me and I was like, okay, so something's going on. Like I don't even know what to do right now.
And I was shocked because I was like, but if this is happening, it's definitely not going to happen to me because we're close. We're so tight. Like, that doesn't happen, right? So that's when, and then things were said about me and my relationship, and that's when it crosses the line for me. That's when it's like, okay, well, my protection and my loyalty will always go to my relationship. Totally. So now there's been big boundaries crossed. Yeah, totally. So that's when
and then we had we had the Logies brekkie, and then there was like all the articles that came out like we're on the outs with each other.
Because I went up to Ev to say hi. She stood there and didn't give me a hug or anything. And that was my first moment of really knowing, okay, maybe what she said is true. Maybe what I've heard on the grapevine that she's been saying about me, she believes and she's been saying. And it's true because why else would we go from being really close, like from a phone call a week ago, FaceTiming and that, to now her not giving me a hug?
Yeah.
But I know I haven't done anything because I've been so busy with work.
Yeah. Unfollowing someone is a huge scoop in like entertainment space. Like I knew straight away that was going to cause a thing. And I was like, I hate that this is going to have to be a fucking thing, because for me, it just was unnecessary. And then I just felt like awkward. Is there a problem? I feel like I've tried to iron it out and I don't know. And I'm just like, I'm just going to leave it, because I'm happy to be civil and just leave things and just kind of keep things professional and like, you know, have pleasantries when we see each other at social events. But it's uncomfortable. And I think, you know, just coming from the Logies.
Let's talk about the actual
Logies.
So that was the nomination breakfast, and that was maybe a month ago.
Yeah. There was like an interesting vibe, and I think everyone was like, kind of in their heads with like what was going on.
Yeah, and it like took away from the moment a bit. It was like, here we are back on MAFS.
Yeah. It is so interesting.
We're not here at the Logies right now. We are back
feeling MAFS. It's hard because you don't know what's being said. You go into these social situations and you feel, you know, a bit self-conscious about if people have a problem with you, because sometimes you hear that they do, then you hear that they don't.
I'm spiraling. I'm already awkward going in.
And I think I did feel for you going into the situation. Like I was like, I'm just going to have a fun time, like go in, like I'm fine with the girls.
I thought I was going to do that. And when I walked in, I literally thought, okay, you know, bygones be bygones, and everyone's mature and we don't need to all get along and we don't need to hash anything out on, definitely not on Logies night, but you're just going to walk in and you still went through this experiment and no one's really done anything properly, you know, to each other in that specific moment to just like enjoy the night.
Yeah.
And I remember walking in and everyone was already there. We were running late. And I've walked
Classic
in.
Classic fashionably.
It wasn't me. It was Leighton because of his bloody bow tie.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Bow tie. Had to borrow a bow tie from Amy.
So it is true. It is true. I don't fib. I remember walking in and instantly there were all these people there. It was all the MAFS, right? There was 10 of us, right? I instantly see this big group and I see you guys in the corner. And you were like, hi. Like, and I look over to everyone else thinking I'm going to go greet everyone. And they look and they all turn.
And then we took photos together. And then I just felt like, oh, okay.
You could then tell.
Yeah, are we like in a weird...
people were not acknowledging.
Yeah.
Me. They were like ignoring me.
Yeah, it was kind of like we were like all a bit uncomfortable, like what's going on.
It started to get a bit uncomfortable. And then, so I was thinking, okay, I'm just going to like smile and be friendly. Like, what is going on kind of thing. It's awkward because Ev's over there. We've got our thing going on. But then there's that group again, you know? So when you're like alone and there's like 4 or 5 people that are friends and they're very big, confident, you know, personalities, and you walk into this group that's already awkward and they just totally don't acknowledge you.
Yeah.
Or like when you walk in a room, like you'd expect people to come up, but no one came up. So it was really like, oh, okay, I don't know where to go, don't know what to do. So I've walked over to you, my safe spot, right? And I've every now and again turned around to see if like someone would lock eyes, like, and I thought, do I go up and say something? And then I thought, no, because what if like maybe it's very clear.
Because I didn't know if people were off you. Okay, I didn't really know. I honestly didn't really know. Yeah, it's just interesting now seeing like after the fact that like then the girls felt like you didn't, like you snubbed them or like you
acknowledged them, bullshit, and I've just got to call that right now.
Like,
because that is so annoying when I felt how I did that entire night.
You're by yourself.
I felt ganged up on and literally intimidated, like bullied. Like the whole night, no one spoke to me. My cape was really long. As they came, I would like move my cape and say, oh, sorry, like, and try and make some type of contact. But there was still no hi and there was still no nothing. And then, you know, you've had Claire go over to one media outlet and start talking about me and making it this thing.
Hi guys, so I'm just editing the podcast and thought I'd jump in with some context. I wanted to include what we were referencing to with the Logies drama. For those who don't know what the Logies is, it's our major television awards night, and Married at First Sight was nominated for a few awards, so we got to attend. I've just included the interview clip that we are talking about so you guys can understand the full picture if you're not across what's been going on.
There hasn't been any drama as such, but there's some weird vibes. Bit of tense energy from a couple of the gals. I mean, Melinda didn't say hi to us, so we're not really sure why. So maybe we'll nut it out in there, see how it goes. Look, I came here to have a good time, but at the end of the day, you can't make people like you, and not everyone's going to be your person, and I'm okay with that. I recall Melinda did say to me during the show, she said, look, Claire, I really like you, but because of what you've done, I think that you're going to be the villain, and so I can't really associate with you. But that's okay. I've got Sandy here, and we've got, Evelyn, Tahnee, Janelle, great crew of girls, Alyssa, Lyndall. So yeah, it's women empowering women, and we're here for that.
And then she starts to bring in all that, every single girl's name but my own, to say like, we're a big united group, and then there's Mel, like I'm the problem. But that is gang up, and that is bullying. When I walk into a room and no one acknowledges me, no one talks to me, I'm trying to be friendly as I can, like walking down the red carpet, feeling very, very awkward, all on camera.
And it's so, like, that was the most intense fucking experience. Like, going there, like, all eyes are on you. You have, like, people shouting at you left, right, and center. Like, it's really hard. So when you feel anxious and self-conscious, it just adds to it.
And then you've got, like, that, the photo was taken of everyone. And then Claire went and uploaded the photo and cropped me and like, now.
I did see that.
So this is not in my head. These are facts
I
that have
had a
happened.
chat with Claire, because she came over to me when we had dinner. She came over to me and kind of said like, oh, hey, like, what's the go? And I was like, look, like, I feel like the optics is like Mel's come into a situation, by herself. Like, obviously, she and Ev have a little bit of like, it's awkward at the moment. So like, obviously you guys are with Ev, you're friendly. We don't know what's being discussed, and Mel's going to be uncomfortable. And it's like, I don't think she was trying to snub you. I was like, it wasn't really you. Obviously her and Ev, it's obviously awkward. And then, she feels the type of way. I don't think she was like trying to, blatantly ignore you. I just don't think that was like really the case. And Sandy said the same thing too. And I was like, look, like, I'm not Mel. I don't really know, but I feel like
many
your
times
intention
I walked past
wasn't
them. Many times I looked at them. Many times they just looked away. They just didn't say anything. That's awkward.
It's so interesting, like being in a same situation, but then having a different experience, and like that's your experience, but then they're saying that that's theirs. It's so.
Do you know
so
what's hard as well?
because
there's so many of them and just one of me, or sometimes two
sure,
of us.
Yeah.
You tend to believe the people that have more people.
Of course, yeah, of course.
And that I'm the common denominator, I must be the problem.
Yeah.
But that to me goes and shows the opposite. It goes and shows that, hang on, that's a gang up mentality.
Yeah.
That is a mean girl mentality. If there is one girl single there and that's happening, where you're all linking together and then coming to you when I leave and talking to you about it. Claire to try to sit down with Leighton and, get him in the group, like get everyone on their side, go to this, article, and do this TikTok with them where it's listing everyone and then saying I'm the issue. Like that is gang up mentality.
Look, I don't think that's very nice. I feel like, look, fair enough.
Also keep in mind I didn't do anything. I actually didn't do anything.
Fair enough if she felt that way. I just don't think it's appropriate to go to the media when there's issues. Like, again, with the whole situation, the drama, I never felt appropriate to go tell media. To tell media that and to like do a whole video. Like, I just personally not my style. And I think it would have been better just to kind of directly say something, or like be like, hey, like, is there an issue? Are we fine? Like, whether it was after the red carpet and we'd done that and then it's like, okay, cool. But it's obviously not a great look. Like, I just don't think it is a good look to MAFS and the MAFS cast and us all in general. I think it makes us look really like gossipy and very like catty in a way. I'll never really want to like call people out in that sense. And I think it's fair to feel that way and fair to have these conversations like we're chatting now, like to say how you feel and like really discuss it. But I think it can just be a bit too far sometimes when it's like, oh, okay, you're like directly calling one person out.
But where, like, it's when it turns nasty, or like, where did it come from? Because let's just say I'll walk in the room and I'm not having a good day or something, or I've just had a fight with Lane or something, and I'm not too social, which is, not in this specific case, but it's happened before. But,
totally.
But where I'm not too social. And then because instead of just checking in, or instead of then going over and saying hi, and then if you come over to say hi to me and I don't say hi back, that's snubbing you.
Yeah.
If you just leave me and not acknowledge me and expect me to come over and I don't for whatever reason, because I'm feeling uncomfortable, because something's happened, whatever it be, and then to go like run my name like I'm this person, that's when it's nasty.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that I've done to these people directly to make them not like me. They've just not liked me from the get-go, from the hens night.
Yeah.
They just have not liked me.
Yeah.
Okay. There was, I like I said, it's not in my head. I got pulled aside from the executive producers and they warned me.
Yeah.
And they told me this, Dom went through this too. We had to have this same chat with Dom.
Yeah.
The rest of the cast didn't like her because she was opinionated, because she was this. And we see it happening with you, Mel.
We've seen that play out as well.
So that is from the get-go. You can't say that because I snubbed you at Logies when I didn't, but because I snubbed you at Logies, like, and then start running me through the mud.
But also,
it goes way back.
I would argue, like, I think, let's say the things are awkward. I also don't think it's like like, if you're not friends, I personally don't like the fakeness of it all. Fair enough not to be like, oh my God, hey babe, how are you? Like, that's also fair as well. And I don't think we then need to make a full thing of it snubbing and like this whole being a thing. Like, okay, we're obviously not friends, so we're gonna be like, okay, cool, hey, whatever. But we don't then need to drag it on. Like, obviously we don't see eye to eye. Obviously we're not gonna be friends, and that's that.
Like in that chat to the media, she started to say that I was saying from the get-go, I like you.
Yeah, can we unpack that? Because it was, the comment was, I like you, Claire, but then
because I think you're going to be a villain, I can't associate with you. And that is a load of bullshit, because I'm good friends with Alyssa, and Alyssa was not
arguably love Alyssa.
I'm not that type
not
of
very
person.
liked. We have been defending Alyssa to the death, and I know every time I mention Alyssa, I cop hate, and I would defend with any of the girls. I would defend any of the girls to an extent of where I thought was fair and what wasn't fair. I'll never drag them.
You know?
Yeah, and it's right or wrong, and I feel like, yeah, arguably.
Yeah, so what happened with that? Let's talk about it. We were all called in for a pizza night at Sky Suites on one of the weekends. And Claire was sitting on the floor, and the cheating thing
that was happened. The NRL night?
The NRL one.
Yeah.
Claire was sitting on the floor, and she started saying, but do you think it's that bad? Do you think that I would actually be the villain? Even though I've like had remorse stuff, do you think I'd be the villain? And I said, well, generally if you've cheated, babe, you're probably going to be some sort of villain.
Sure.
Like, babe, you are. Like, but that doesn't mean that I'm going, don't talk to me. I thought I was going to be a villain. Leighton wrote me cards on my birthday saying my villain match. And I was like, I don't care if I am.
We always made a joke about it. It was like,
I don't care, right? So it's not like, this villain thing. Like, if I really cared about my edit, I wouldn't have said half the shit I said.
You would have just been quiet.
Because that was risky. That could have gone either way.
No, and I always say to Mel, I feel like, honestly, dangerous game. But if you and Leighton didn't work out the way you did, I reckon you could have been a villain. Things could have been more edited in a way, not edited, but like, shown in a way that made you look a bit more like dominant or like too like full on, too headbutty, which could have made you look a type of way. And I feel like if things were skewed differently, that could have been your outcome.
Yeah, you just never know. Like, because of the wedding.
You never know.
And you don't know, because then, we were conflicted, because we were like, could it go the opposite and be put on Leighton?
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of things you didn't see that happened there, right? So you actually don't know. So do I care about that? Absolutely not. Alyssa came out with that edit. Yeah. And I still stood up for her.
And we've never turned our backs on Alyssa.
So that is a load of shit, and that just did not happen, and those words never came out of my mouth. Yeah. That's a load of shit.
I think the thing that I struggle with the most, I think maybe that I'm being dragged in with the Evan Duncan stuff, is that obviously Alyssa is a good friend of mine. I know things that were said on the show. Like, I remember stuff Evelyn was saying, like, break up with him, like, he's not good for you, all of this stuff, and you were there for that. So then Alyssa had reached out to Ev after publicity, when Evelyn, like, I'm not going to get into it, but like Evelyn, had a moment, and Alyssa had reached out to check in on her. Alyssa has like actively tried to, reach out to her, and then she's been kind of ignored, and then it's turned around like, oh, okay, she's angry that they're together, when that's not the case. Yeah. But then she didn't even tell her that she was going to be together. So it was quite hard to then see that play out. And then it's like, well, okay.
I think by then, Alyssa was so hurt by many things Duncan had done. Like, she felt a type of way.
I feel a type of way about a friend then dating a friend's ex and not saying something. And it's hard for me, because I wouldn't really like that. And I think, genuinely, if she had gone to Alyssa and was like, babe, I really like him, I really want to make it work, and I probably know we can't be friends after this, but like I just want to let you know, I'm really sorry if it hurts you, but this is how I genuinely feel. Alyssa would have been fine with that. Like, I know deep down she was, and I've chatted with Alyssa, and she's so fine and so happy for them, and thinks they're a perfect, like, they're great together. And I think the narrative of her being like petty and like not, it's like, she's allowed to be hurt. She's absolutely allowed to be hurt. She's not sitting there wishing for their downfall. Absolutely not. Like, that's not Alyssa. She's a great person. Yes, she wasn't great in that relationship, and she knows that, and she has things she can work on. She knows that. We don't need to keep knocking her down. That's what I struggled with, and I feel like...
And I think, like, then I was good friends with Ev, so I do know that her thing with that was... she was standing loyal to her man, because Duncan was not talking to Alyssa, or Alyssa and Duncan were not talking. So she felt conflicted in that way. So it goes to show, like, so many different stories, and there's so many different, like, the way people feel, and that you can't just look at, like, your story and forget the other person's.
Totally.
Like, you have to look at it all around. So, when that happens, like it does at the Logies, I'm also feeling this type of way, but there's one of me and there's 6 of you. Like, so, and vice versa. If they're feeling that type of way, I don't want them to feel that type of way. Please come talk to me. Yeah. But don't just go to the media and start to get nasty.
I think the passive aggressive in the media is like, hey, let's just like privately message, like privately do this. And obviously, and I felt
and then some of the comments on the TikTok from Claire now are for me to Google certain words, and like she's really coming at me, like, but I haven't done anything.
And I felt bad for Mel because I obviously know what Mel's been going through lately, and so I kind of was more conscious of, you know, your headspace, where you were at that event. So I kind of was more in tune with that, and obviously the girls don't know that, so they don't realize, you know, where you were at and how you're feeling and how it could have, you know, impacted you as well. Your intention just wasn't to snub people and wasn't to be rude.
Yeah,
you had been going through a lot.
To me, so how could I snub them? No one came to me.
Yeah.
Like, they just didn't come to me. They just ignored me.
It's so hard. And I think, especially being in the public eye, you're then expected to address it and expected to say something. Whereas if this was like anyone else, no one gives a shit. It's just now, you know, you got media like stirring it up and like doing like stories and stuff. Because I was then asked on the red carpet, oh, what's this about Claire being snubbed by Melinda? And I was like, what? I was like, wait, sorry, what are you talking about? I was like, no idea what you're talking about. And I was genuinely so confused. I was like, what's been said? And then I didn't know what to say. I was like, okay, next question. But yeah, it was like, that just didn't need to be done.
Yeah. It's like, it's somehow always, it's just always Melinda.
It's always Melinda.
It's from the get-go of the experiment right to now. It's just always, you know. But the thing is, like, rather than get into that mindset of, oh, poor me, this and that, it's like, whatever. Yeah. I'm going to stay in my lane. I'll stick to my truth. The truth always comes out. The colours definitely show.
Totally.
So that's fine. That's going to go on for a little while now because it sounds like someone's a bit rivaled up. Missing MAFS maybe wants some more drama. But hopefully, like, I, just can remain the bigger person and not get too involved into that. Yeah. But I just hope that people don't start to believe that stuff. And
there'll always be like people believing, you know, others over. It's always going to be what we're going to have to deal with for the rest of our lives. Really, it's going to be constant. It's just going to be constant. But it's just how we then go about things. Like, obviously, like, you should feel comfortable, like us, you know, jumping on here having a chat. You know, we also had an experience, and we've been so quiet like the whole time about, you know, what happened during filming. And I think people are like, oh, but you guys got the relationships. You're like, shut up.
Yeah, that's actually where a lot started as well. In that big WhatsApp group we had. We all got our little photos with our bios. Yes. And I remember going, oh, I don't sound like a nice person.
Yeah, so
I started getting upset.
So you guys know we didn't get to like proofread our bios, our pictures, anything. Like, you just see it online one day, and like we were a bit like, oh, okay. Like, there's some stuff I was like, oh, I don't really like that. Didn't love my picture. Yeah.
And mine was like, doesn't suffer fools. And I was like, I am the most empathetic person. I would never look at someone like, you're too dumb.
It was pretty. Yours was pretty intense. I was like,
mine was full on, and I got really nervous and I got really scared. Because I remember in the beginning the producers trying to push that narrative for me, and I had to fight back quite a lot. Yeah. And I thought, did they get it from me without me knowing? I thought I was smarter than them.
Did I say that?
But yeah, and they came out. So we all went into the chat, and everyone was talking about their different thing. And when I put like, I was worried about mine, I got that's very insensitive of you, Mel. Yeah. You don't get to have your say right now because you ended up with Leighton and you found love.
You know, some people had a really, really hard time, and I don't think we would ever try to like talk down to that at all. But, you know, Mel's also allowed to feel a type of way about, you know, things that are happening to her. It probably just wasn't like they're just like not open to hearing after their stuff.
Yeah, that WhatsApp, it's like everyone can put their own things in. But as soon as you do, like, oh, you're not allowed. Yeah. Like, how dare you?
Yeah. And then that was the end of that WhatsApp group.
Yeah, that WhatsApp group, I was like, this is de-empowering women. They don't want to be happy for anyone that's happy. Like, oh, Mel's got a partner, so maybe she's happy. So we can't support that. Yeah. You know, the WhatsApp group was just talking shit about all the men, and it was just bringing people down and talking shit upon people. It was quite a negative chat. And then when, you know, if I wanted to speak about something, you know, about Leighton, like what we were doing or that, it was like frowned upon. So you went a bit quiet. You didn't want to say too much about Ollie because you kind of felt that anything. Too. Yeah. And then it was very like, it has always been a you can't sit with us mean girl group. And I'm just going to say it and leave it at that. Yeah. It is. And they are. Yeah. And it always has been.
I've always wanted to hear everyone out. I don't want to just kind of take what I hear and then judge that person and not, you know, find out for myself. And I've always been like that. And I feel like at the same time, it doesn't make me Switzerland or make me not, you know,
have an opinion.
And I definitely do. And like the girls do, like I do voice that. We all went through the same thing. We all had, an experience that was really intense, and we'll never forget that. And it's going to be probably one of the hardest things we'll have to do in our life.
Yeah, to forget it.
Yeah, to forget it.
Hard.
But yeah, it's, something we all did, and, we'll always have respect for each other in that sense. And, we move on, we do our things, we go about our life. You're not always going to have friends, and not everyone's going to like you. And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow. I wanted to finish with just like I guess advice to this current cast, what you would say to them, going into it. Obviously they're filming now. I'm very fucking excited to see next season. I'm so excited. What advice would you give to MAFS 2024 contestants? Anything insights you'd give them? What would you say to them? Because they might be listening. Hi guys.
First and foremost, let's talk about the main reason you're in there, to find love. Mm-hmm. So it's go in with an open mind.
Yeah.
It's not black and white. You have to be open.
Totally.
Like everyone that I feel that gets on MAFS is an onion. There's all these different layers. Like you have 100%. To peel the layers of everyone and allow your layers as well. Like you just have to give it your all. And in terms of like group dynamics and things like that, which are going to play a big part with the dinner parties and that, don't worry about how it looks to the world. Don't worry about if this person likes you. Just stay true to you and do. Because I'm going to tell you, when you come off of this show, all those fake relationships that you tried to keep and not say something because you didn't want to look a certain way, it all comes crumbling at the end.
Because it's not going to mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. So you go in there, you be you, you speak your truth, you leave
100%.
Nothing left unturned, and you come off full content that you did that. And that's what I did. I came off and I remember going, I am so content with everything, and whatever comes my way, it comes my way, because I was me through and through.
100%. And this is what I've said as well. Any advice I've given is, it's so cliche, but you have to be yourself. You cannot try and act.
The producers will prey on you. They know
you just can't. And also, like, the viewers will see that and they will rip you. You really just need to go in there, be yourself, be honest, be open, and just be you. Like,
and don't worry if people don't like you.
And literally don't worry if people, because not many people liked you, and look how you turned out. But it's all like fun and games as well. But it's it's real life, and like what you do is going to have an impact on you for the rest of your life. It's going to constantly be something you're attached with, for good or for better. You would feel a lot better coming out of it knowing that you're yourself rather than being someone that you weren't. I think, that's just my one bit of advice. Like, just be yourself.
It doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like,
it doesn't.
If you have your partner, stick with your partner. Like, that's another thing I would say.
Don't turn on them either. Like,
if you're a Mel and Leighton kind of dynamic, especially, like, the thing is, like, I felt that our relationship was like quite hindered from the beginning because of that trust, issue where it's like us versus each other versus the producers versus Australia versus everything, and quickly you shut all that out very quickly. But in the beginning, that was the foundation set up for us. So it's, your partner is your Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah. You grab your partner so tight and you hold on to your partner, and they are the only ones you can trust. Yeah. Do not trust anyone else, not the girlfriend, not the other boyfriend, not the your partner. You trust your partner.
Yeah, that person is going to be the one to get you through.
Yeah.
Hopefully. And best of luck.
Yeah, best of luck.
Hopefully there's some Mel and Leighton and Ollie and Tahnee's in there. I will be so happy to see some like really beautiful love stories. But yeah, we know MAFS, so I'm sure there's going to be a sprinkle of drama in there too. Let's do it. So yeah, thanks for coming on, Mel.
So much for having me.
Have so much other stuff we could have chatted about, and I'm sure we will definitely do another episode soon. Honestly, we're still so exhausted from the Logies. I don't know how we came here today. Like, we're feeling a bit disheveled. We had to bring you this chat. Send us a DM if you want us to chat again and what you want us to chat about. You guys will see us soon. So speak to you next week. Bye.
So that was my episode with Mel. Thank you so much for listening. I'll also be dropping my episode with Alyssa this week, so definitely stay tuned to hear what we chat about. I would absolutely love it if you could please leave us a 5-star review, and don't forget to follow @ChuffedPod on Instagram and TikTok. Speak to you guys soon.